This is why I love cold therapy. It saved my life. Everything changes when we step into the cold.
Hi Ash, welcome to the Stepping Into the Cold podcast. It's great to have you here today. Please introduce yourself.
Sorry?
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Chris Ashworth. Everybody calls me Ash. I'm a Pilates instructor, massage therapist, and a Wim Hof instructor. I live in West London with my partner and the little dog. Well, say the little dog, the big dog is sat down, just flaked out on the floor next to me. And yeah, I've had a massive life change about 6 years ago, which has led me down the road to where I am now.
Okay, so the podcast is about highlighting people's cold therapy journeys, the reason why they ended up getting into cold therapy in the first place, and really what's kept them stepping back in today. And I've noticed that you're a Wim Hof instructor, so I'm really looking at taking that from the start, going all the way up into why you keep going in today, and what made you become a Wim Hof instructor, and sort of what drives you and what your passions are. So really, what was it that got you into cold therapy, and what got you thinking about cold therapy in the first place?
Okay. Life's had a lot of changes for me because I've done lots of different things. I started out as a professional footballer. That was when I first my first thing. That was it. I was going to be it. I was going to be a footballer. Then I got injured, and then I did everything. I've done all sorts of different jobs. I've worked in a warehouse. I've been a area manager for a brewery. I've done so many different things, but nothing with passion. And about 6 years ago, I got made redundant for the third time in a row, and I lost my house, my job, and my car. And I just got to the point where I was looking myself in the mirror, and I was like, "What have I got? I haven't got anything to offer anybody." You know, I was going to meet someone. If I wanted to be with someone, I couldn't go anywhere. Didn't have a car. I couldn't bring them over. I was living in my friend's spare room, and I didn't have a job as well. So I thought, enough. I'm going to teach myself. I'm going to learn new skills. So I started to learn massage. Then I met my partner now, Nikki, and she took me to a Pilates and in a one-on-one session with a guy who's an inspiration to me. And I thought, I've got to learn this, because it's been 25, 30 years where I've not been able to run or move properly because of my injuries, and I'd always been quite closed off. So learning Pilates really helped me start my journey on well-being and showing other people how to be mobile, rather than I wanted to fix people, putting people on my bench, and now I want to prevent them being on my bench. So during this journey, my mum's suffering from Parkinson's disease for like 20 years. So the last sort of like 5-7 years was horrible to see my mum and my dad being tortured like that. And it affected my daughter a lot as well. So that was a really difficult time. And then just after lockdown, mum died. And that's when it opened my brain up. I didn't have this cloud all the time of thinking, oh man, what's going on? I hope she's okay. And then just worrying and worrying and worrying. So as everybody in the world, we whiz up in our head. Our head just takes over, and we kind of time travel back and forward. It's good to plan, because our mind plans in front, but then it worries about all those plans. Or when you're with your friends and you're regaling all these great things, you remember stuff, but otherwise your head is generally pulling that apart. So a lot of the time you're going backwards and forwards. So I couldn't stop what I call the noise in my head. So I wanted to stop the noise, and I didn't know how. And I wanted to learn a new skill. Now I had the headspace. So I started to I was listening to Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan, the podcast, Joe Rogan. Yeah. He was talking to a guy called James Nestor about his book called Breath. Now, if you're into breath work, please just read that book. It's like gold. It's like gold. It gives you the history and why, and it's a beautiful book. But they started to chat about this guy, Wim Hof. And who's this Wim Hof? And I thought, who is this guy? So I started to read a little bit. And James Nestor said he's one of the last gurus left. So, and that was to do with breath work. And I thought, I really like the idea of breath work, but it also talks about cold therapy. And I didn't like the idea of cold therapy. I've never liked the cold, ever. I've never liked the cold. I was the kind of guy who wore mittens over the top of gloves because it was cold. I used to protect myself all the time. So I did my first breathing, and that hooked me. And I thought, oh, I'm not quite sure. The cold really scares me. I didn't fancy it at all. So I started with a 15-second cold shower. And I thought, well, no, I can do that. I can do that. And then 30 seconds, then 45, then a minute, then 2 minutes, then 3 minutes. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn a little bit more about this. So I started to study, and I did a Wim Hof. I did the fundamentals course online. Now, halfway through that, well, about 4 weeks in, it says, take your first ice bath. Scary proposition. I mean, getting into the shower is one thing, but getting into an ice bath's another. So built up the courage, and by this time I was breathing every day, and I had my practice going, and I was getting into the showers. So I was starting the cold showers. I was kind of like, yeah, I can do this, but it was always a battle. Stood there, right, really, come on, do I really have to do this? And your head's going, yeah, right, you do it tomorrow, it's fine, you just relax, man, you're fine. So having that battle all the time until I got into the ice bath, and I did my first ice bath. And it was the very first time that my head just stopped. Wow. The noise stopped, which has allowed me to just go, the worry stopped, everything stopped. Just for those precious 2 minutes I was in the ice bath, everything stopped, because all I was doing was breathing. I came into my body was louder than my head for the first time in my life. And I call it coming out of the noise and into the feeling. Using a feeling in the body to battle against this mental torture that you're going through all the time with this noise. So that was the first time they really bit me. And I thought, wow, there's something in this. And when I got out of the ice bath, wow, did I feel everything. I felt everything. I felt a sense of achievement. I felt the hit of norepinephrine that you get. I had the cortisol hit while I was in there, going from the, oh my God, I need to get out to, well, that feels pretty cold, but I'm okay. When you go through that shift, when you get that cortisol hit. So I was bitten by then. And ever since then, I've been managing my head with it. It's the most beautiful and most reliable thing you can do for your head, in my opinion. And obviously when I do the whole Wim Hof, the 3 pillars together, that's allowed my mindset to completely change. Because my mindset, I used to be one of those avoidance mindsets, the kind of like, don't fancy that. Do you know how many times have you gone, well, yeah, I couldn't be bothered, I didn't do it? And that's that avoidance mindset of, your head will talk you out of it before you even get in. Yeah. So now I have a different mindset, and I use the analogy a lot as when the skier is skiing through trees. They're not going, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree. They're going, follow the snow. Follow the snow. So it's been a massive mindset change for me. And also I'm in the best state physically and mentally that I've ever been in my life. And it's all due to doing the Wim Hof method and being in service to other people. I talk a lot about, there's 2 things you need to do every day, is do something for yourself and something for someone else. Yeah. If you do that every day, your life will just be a better place. It will. So that's kind of like where I got into the cold, and now I won't let it go. I miss it to the point where when we talk about the cold shower is not cold at the moment. It's not cold. It's not cold enough. I can sit in there for all day if I need to. It's not a challenge anymore, because it's gone above the sort of like the threshold that we need is sort of like 16 degrees, 61 Fahrenheit. If you go underneath that, anything underneath that, you get the hit of norepinephrine, you get cortisol, and you get the dopamine reward drug when you've done it. You get all those things, but when it goes above 16 degrees, it's difficult to get. So to combat that, I've started my own little club I call it Dip Club, because I've got something called Stretch Club, I've got something called Breath Club, and now I've got something called Dip Club. And Dip Club is where a bunch of us, maybe 6 to 10 of us, will get together and we'll pitch in to get the ice. Then we'll use my tub and we'll come round to one's house, might have my house or over a mate's house. We'll all come over and we'll all do our ice dips, because we know the benefits of them are just far and wide reaching. It's so good for you. It's so good for you. That's why I won't let it go. And that's why I keep encouraging other people to do it too. So I like your idea of keeping the shower cold with your wonderful machine.
That's there's so much that you've said that personally I can relate to, coming from an injury that
Yeah.
changed, and I also relate to that. You said about you always wanted to be warm. You were the person that would wear mittens over gloves,
Yeah.
and you would never have thought that the cold would have delivered us so much benefit. That one is pain management. Like
Massive.
you know, you said you are physically and mentally in the best shape that you can be, and that might be like your physical health, just how you feel about yourself and everything like that. It might be that your physique is in the place that you want it to be. But when I think about what you said, when I like the physical and mental is about how I'm feeling in my body, how I'm feeling in my mindset. There is definitely changes I can do like to make my physique look better. That is a continual journey. But the way I interpret what you said about physical and mental is the way that we sit inside our body, the way that we sit inside our heads. And
I'm proud of who I am.
100.
Yeah.
Amen on that.
Yeah, it's just pride. I'm just proud of who I am and where I am. And what did you mention then? Talking about pain management. Okay, to give you an idea of where I am, massage therapist, arthritis in the hands. I have ex-professional footballer, ACL reconstruction in my knee over 20 years ago, which is now degraded. So unstable knee, although I do a lot of Pilates to help it. And also I got hit in a car, and I was driving my car and I got hit by a guy who was riding a motorbike at 90 miles an hour. And it took whiplash and I went sideways instead of forwards and back. It went sideways. So I got problem with the neck, problem with the hip. And I can say here, hand on heart right now, I don't have any pain in my body. I don't have any pain because I do my breath work and I do my cold. Yeah. And it manages the inflammation in my body and therefore the pain. And it's like magic. I saw my mum destroyed with tablets. I saw my mum take 7 tablets and only one of them was for Parkinson's disease. The rest was to fight the symptom that they'd give her. So you get that, and the symptom of having that is this happens. Oh, we got a tablet for that, and oh, we've got a tablet for that. I wish I'd have known this stuff when she started, because I could have then said, look, this is what we do, Mum. You can do, and we could have managed her mindset as well, which was completely shot to bits at the end. So yeah, I that's why I'm so passionate about it now, and I won't stop until I've taught as many people as possible how to manage this pain. And by using the cold, it's the most reliable force that you can use. It's reliable. It never lets you down, ever lets you down. If you can access the cold, it will never let you down, and it will always give you the benefits because your body is built to do this.
Yeah.
It's your mind that stops it. It's only the mind that will stop you going into the cold. Only. The body can deal with it. Your mind doesn't. And it's the mind that talks people out of it. And I love to do workshops and watch that transformation of people being scared, really scared of going into the cold. And then by the time we're coming in to get into the ice bath, speaking to them and giving them their story, whatever they need to hear to be able to get and take that on, and then come out with this euphoric feeling, being hit with all these different happy hormones that you've got, and that sense of achievement when people come out. And just setting people on the pathway to find their self and find their pride and find their happy, healthy, strong person. So it's as you can see, I just won't let it go. I'm so passionate about it. If you come to my workshop, you're going to get in the ice, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to change how you feel. It's just the way it is.
Good. So you've given already such a wealth of insight, knowledge, showing your passion, but really, and you've explained that what really got you into cold therapy, and this is really about highlighting your cold therapy journey, so that people can watch this and say, ah, that guy there or that girl there, where they were mentally, physically is similar to me, and understand what your barriers to entry were. You spoke about, you did the 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 minute, 2 minutes, and you got about four odd weeks into the fundamental course, and your first challenge was your first ice bath. So the two aspects that I really want to cover, and this is about the fight or flight response, the experience, and you spoke a little bit about the ice bath experience and hitting tranquility. So I want to bring it back to really that first deliberate cold exposure, that first 15 seconds, and really that first bit of, if you activated that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, how long did that happen for? What did you do to combat it? And how long did it last for? And what was that breakthrough for you?
Okay. When I did my first shower at 15 seconds, I started with a warm shower and then turned it over to cold for 15 seconds. Now, when it got out, it was a lot of, whoa, God, whoa. And it was the sense of achievement that I had, because the immersion wasn't really that long for the effects to take place on my body on sort of like in a hormonal sense. But it was that part. It was the head that really, I was like, wow, yeah, it's not that bad. I can do this. And it was that change for me was huge, because like I said, I didn't fancy the cold at all. And I literally, it took me, I was probably in the shower for an extra 5 minutes before I turned it on to cold, and having that real battle in my head, because my mind was in control of me and didn't want to let go. And I think it didn't want to let go because it knows it was going to be quiet as soon as the cold went in there, because the body shouts. But that first one was the battle. But saying that, all of them have been a battle. Not now, I'm in a different headspace now, but it took a long time to keep going back. And the protocols we have is 5 and 7 days. So every now and again I go, I'll do it tomorrow, and my head would win. And then I'd put one off, and then I'd go, I've got to go in tomorrow. But I think my demons were, I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't get to sleep at night. I was worried about my daughter. I was worried about my mum, and it wouldn't let go. And the amount of times that I just waking up in the night, and as soon as you're awake, you finally get to sleep. You think, I'll finally get to sleep, and then something will wake you up, and then I can't go back to sleep again. And I spent months and months and months and months like that, just couldn't switch off, because I was just so worried. I was powerless to help either of them. And they're my two weak spots in my life were my mum and my daughter. They were being pulled and twanged all the time. My heartstrings being twanged, and those thoughts would not stop. But they stopped when I went in the shower. They stopped when the cold came. And that was my hook. That was the bit that I longed for and used. And now I have different methods now as well, but it's the most reliable one that stops everything and just allows you to have that, even for 15 seconds. It just stops your head. And especially when pain's concerned as well, because I had so much pain in my body all over the place. But I think as it got further and further and deeper into it, like doing 2 minutes was a mental battle, because that first minute, but the thing is, with a shower, it goes this spot, then this spot, then this spot, then this spot, then this spot, and you're turning all the time, so it's a fresh challenge every time, which gives you the battle, which is the bit that gave me the peace. So I think for people to associate that, anxiety and depression, there's lots of it about, and which is powerful minds, and getting into the shower and using the cold is the only thing that is, because it's a physical action. It's not you sat there trying to meditate. It's not you sat there trying to control your mind by doing counting patterns and breathing. It's a physical thing. where you get in and it hits you and you have to deal with it. That's why I hold it in such high esteem. It's been priceless to me and will continue to be priceless. And I won't let it go because I know it works. And now that inspired me to be the Wim Hof instructor that I am now, because I know it works, and it works on me and it works on everybody. It's just the way the body reacts. And I think from those dark days of being depressed and having a really busy mind, I'm not in that state anymore. Not only did it stop that, it's encouraged a different head, where it's not going, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? I've turned my head into a cheerleader. My head is going, well done for that now, rather than the other one. So I think it's been a big transition in the way, and help the transition in a physical way, but also in a mental way as well.
What is it? So part of the process. So, you know, congrats to you for shifting your mindset into a cheerleader. What is it that took you to get it to be the cheerleader of Ash, so that people could sort of be watching this and go, you know, I've tried this, and you know what I get is like, get out, turn the water off. Yeah, what are you doing? You know, so how did you combat that type of inner Ash to the champion Ash, who's there at the sideline going, come on?
Yeah, the inner chatter, it's the one to get hold of. Discipline, I think, is a simple one. If it's discipline, it's doing it. When it's the days that you don't want to do it, it's the days when your head is powerful, it's the days when your head wants to keep you in bed and it doesn't want you to get out, and it wants you to avoid people, and you don't want to do anything. Those are the days where it's so important, because it will change you physically every single time. It's a tough one, because I mean, I've been there, like so many other people have been there, like we're lying in bed not wanting to get out of bed, you know, and it's discipline. If you enforce the discipline on yourself and do it, it's a physical thing. It's a task that you can tick off. It's not a mental thing that you have to, okay, I've got to do this. And it's not, it's a matter of have I got in the shower today? Tick. If I get in the shower, get into the cold, try and increase my time. Discipline is the word. I mean, we call it mindset. But the bottom line is, like, okay, you know, how many times have people bought a membership to a gym? Yeah. And do you go? You go for a week, or maybe a few times, and then you end up, so I'm going to cancel the membership, or you pay the membership for 6 months because you don't want anybody to think that you've not gone. You know, it's that sort, or a diet, same thing. You start a diet and then you fall off the diet. It's discipline. It is. It's as simple as that. Just set an alarm. Every day I do this. Establish your own routine. That's what I did. I established my own routine. Every morning I wake up, because of I used a lot of different breathing protocols. I do 30 to 45 minutes breathing before I leave the bedroom, and I walk straight into a cold shower, and I'll stay in that cold shower for 5 minutes. That is my daily routine. That is the reason that I am cheerleading Ash, not the other one. It's discipline, and all it is that you can do it every morning, and it takes 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes. It's not like you have to put an hour out of the day. You don't have to do breathing protocols that I do. You can get in the cold shower and feel like this, you know? I mean, I'd encourage you to do something else with it, but start with a 15-second cold shower, build it up to 5 minutes. If you can get in that shower 5 minutes every day, then you attach something else to that habit, and it's habit building. We talk about it a lot. It's about habit building, doing something, attaching to something you're already doing. So that thing happens every day. So you just attach it to that. Then once you've attached that, you attach that to something else. So all of a sudden you start to build this habit. Like, just for instance, if you put a pot of coffee on the morning, if you like coffee and you put a pot of coffee on in the morning, while that coffee's doing, go and get in the shower. Just go and get in the shower, come back, coffee's ready, and you feel amazing because you've had that hit of all the happy hormones that you've been, oh, wow. You don't need a tablet.
Yeah.
You just need the cold. The cold is your teacher. It always will be. because it's reliable.
Yeah.
And I wish I had one of your showers right now. I really do.
Right now, they are very much needed.
Yeah.
So you spoke a little bit about really your challenge came in at the 2 minutes. So I can really relate to you because I did the fundamentals. I can relate to the Joe Rogan because I heard Joe Rogan, but it was Wim Hof that spoke.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of thing, all these medications at this time, and this guy's talking about the benefits of cold therapy. Felt like I tried everything, and I thought I've got nothing to lose. To the point where I'm managing my pain. I'm off all of the prescription meds, like the morphine, all the sleeping tablets, all that. So I relate to you, and I know the process of going through. For me, it took 7 weeks to get over that voice of sort of, you stood at the shower, it's running, and you're like, do I, don't I, all of this. Doing the breath retention, holding it, trying to get used to it. But when I got over that line, it was like I couldn't wait to get in there. I couldn't wait to do the first bit of my morning routine, to get into that shower, just to be like that. And that's now for me, my anchor of starting my day. So I've got my morning routine, but my anchor for starting my day is the cold shower. So the getting ready process is going in, cold shower, getting ready for my activities, my work, or whatever I'm doing. But the cold shower is my anchor point. And it's the same in the evening, because I had sleep problems, and the cold shower in the evening warms up my metabolism, kicks all of that in, and I seem to get a much deeper REM sleep. So I'm really interested to know what that process was you at that 2 minute point, and really when did you get that switch? Because obviously this might be where your first ice bath comes in, and tell it in your own words, but sort of how you got that switch, because you gave so much about your release of cortisol while you was in the water, this tranquility, this point that you hit, and how did that come about for you? And then what were all your cold therapy experiences like afterwards, after all of a sudden you hit this new level? How was that for you?
Okay, so the first ice bath was the real game changer. The real game changer. But I was doing it in summer, so it was May and June. I was doing the fundamentals course, so it's warm outside. So to get that real ice bath, authentic ice bath, is really difficult because you have to get a lot of ice. So I would say building. I stopped going into the shower. I did the ice bath. I summoned enough ice and like ordered some, brought some in, did my first ice bath, brought it down to around about. It was only about 8 degrees. It wasn't really like super cold, but it was about 8 degrees. But that was the point where I was like, okay, you get this kind of like, I really have to switch on now. I really have to focus on what I'm doing. And because I was doing the fundamentals course, I knew how to control myself in that situation. So that was that immediacy. But I think it was after that point, the discipline of coming in and doing the cold showers, because the cold showers were still always ever present. And building it up for 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 5 minutes. And the build up was the discipline. And that was the bit that allowed me to be who I am now, because I had that discipline of going to the shower. So when we got past sort of like 2 minutes or so, when you're getting out and when the weather started to change and we started to go into the winter, that's when I thought, right, this is different, because it started to get really cold in the shower. And that was like that 4 or 5 minutes was now becoming, whoa, come on, okay. And that was a real battle. So from going from, okay, I've got this owned, it was kind of like rewound the clock again and started beating me up again. And I was like, okay. And that's when I started to have the same conversations in my head. And do I really want to do this? Can I do it tomorrow? Can I have a day off? So getting into the cold shower at that point was great, but I bought myself a little tub. And what I did is filled it with water and just let the ambient temperature, as we got into winter, I let the ambient temperature bring it down. So that was where I really learned the discipline in my head, because getting in the shower, you can spend a minute or 2 minutes actually washing all the bits and bobs and doing your hair and all that sort of thing. So, and then it's just a matter of, okay, I'm good, and then I'll listen to music and I'll try and be with my body at the time. But that was a battle. But then getting out the shower, look at yourself in the mirror and you're just red everywhere, and you go, whoa. That's when you know when you've been hit by it, because you get this red flush all over you, because your cardiovascular system's just gone, oh, wait a minute, and then it comes out and it goes boom. So you get this, you feel all this redness around your body, and that was the I used to see how red I was. That was my thing. Look how red I am. Look how red I am. So, but I knew I was getting that because I've been studying. I knew I was getting the benefits from there. But and also going into the tub in the back garden, I can remember just staring at a knot on the tree. We've got a little tree, a little silver birch. I can stare at that, and the words inhale, extend your exhale, inhale, extend your exhale, inhale, extend your exhale. That's when I start to really find the tranquility, because it shut my mind up, but my mind's still beating, trying to get in. But when I start to breathe in, long exhale, really letting that exhale ring out, and then breathe, that's when I start to really find the tranquility that I can now reach. I know how to do it now. It's there. So it makes me feel like I've got a bit of a safety blanket, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like, if I do feel bad, in the odd occasion that my head goes dark, when I start to think, oh no, what did so-and-so mean when they said that? And all those kind of like dark thoughts, dark loops in my head, I can go straight into the shower. And I know I'll just got to stay in the shower and it'll change.
Yeah.
I'll come out and it's changed. It's given me a break from the head, but it's also changed the way I think about everything else, because you now got these happy hormones in you and you feel, hey, I'm ready, let's go, what's next? So I think finding that tranquility in the plunge was great, but it's the shower that keeps you going. It really is. You can't have an ice bath every day. It costs too much. Yeah. In the winter, it's great because it's probably about 6 degrees ambient, and so you can get in there every day, which is great. But once you get used to that 6 degrees, it's great. But if you get in the shower, it's a constant. It's cold there, it's cold there, it's cold there, it's cold there. So you get this constant movement. And my partner, she prefers the plunge to the shower because she feels the shower is more of a challenge, which in all honesty, it probably is. Because once you get into the ice bath and you go through the shift, you develop this thermal layer which protects you. That thermal layer is not in the shower. The thermal layer keeps being brushed off because you've got moving water on you, and it constantly cools you down. So yeah, if I had one of your showers now, I'd be in it all the time, because I know after 5 minutes I would get those happy hormones. It's a beautiful thing. So that would be where I found my tranquility.
You've just given so much like insight, and I'm just trying to pick at the pieces of where to go. You know, I couldn't agree more with you about the difference between whole body exposure and getting in the shower.
Yeah,
and
different.
And also, you know, the ability, and this is what got me onto this, but the ability to alternate the temperature. So, you know, one day is like, and this is why when you go on holiday and you come back home. So for instance, my wife is Spanish.
Yeah. So
we're in Spain a lot. When I left, it was 24 degrees, the cold water temperature. And I was just glad to have a cryo shower system with me to bring those temperatures down. But like, if you go there, like for instance, go into Spain in the winter where down in Costa del Sol, doesn't drop below 16 degrees. The coldest it will sort of goes is around 16, 17. And then when you come back here, so we're like, for instance, I come back to the UK and it may be down in Dorset, the south coast of England, it might be 7 or 8 degrees. But that is a massive drop.
Massive drop.
You know, and I went through, you talked about this, about igniting again that battle and going round. But that going around that battle isn't a bad thing. And this is the good thing, because we can use that space to create new space and deal with deal with the new trauma that's come up or the old memories or whatever. And it's that continual battle of keep going and just keep punching through.
You're building a muscle.
Exactly.
You're building a muscle, and that muscle can be concentration. That muscle can be resistance, which is what I would say the cold is. It's I talk about using the cold as when you go to the gym and you pick up a barbell.
Yeah,
that's just a different thing. It's just a different barbell, and you're using it in a different way to help your head. So I think it's beautiful, and like I say, it's reliable. If you can get cold water, it's reliable. As long as you've got the cold, you can always help yourself. Always.
Definitely.
I mean, you can add on to it with other things, but I think cold is the teacher, because I think one of the things not mentioned is acceptance. Don't fight the cold. You'll lose. Yeah. It's a simple thing. You will lose if you try and fight it. If you go fight it all the time, accept it. Deal with what's in front of you and allow that stress to hit you. Deal with the stress. Don't try and fight the cold. Deal with the stress. And I think that acceptance is another thing that's really helped me, because I can accept other things now. It's not just that. For instance, one of the things that really winds me up, or still winds me up now, and I'm working on it, I'm still working on it, and I use different techniques to help with it, but is driving, because we have a spate around London where there's a lot of people on mopeds, and they just stick an L plate on and they start, and they've not passed the test or anything, and it just like they're whizzing in front of you and they're coming from nowhere, and that is aggravating for me. I have to still, but I learn in the cold to deal with that stress. So now that threshold has now gone up and up and up and up and up. The threshold isn't tiny anymore. I have a massive threshold. It doesn't wind me up at all. And that's a huge difference that I've noticed in myself, to be able to deal with that stress. Sorry, doggy. Because I deal with the stress of the cold, and I know how to deal with that. And it's a transferable skill.
Definitely.
Which is a beautiful thing. I think I've just messed up my microphone. Sorry.
The sound's still good, Ash.
Okay,
so
thanks.
While you're plugging whatever, this is sort of a bit of a two-part question. But really, one is about, do you know what the coldest water that you've exposed yourself to? The other part of that is, what's your favorite place that you've done cold therapy in?
Wow, great questions. I like those. So I would say definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the coldest that I've done was when we went to Poland to do the master module for Wim Hof. Without any doubt, that's the coldest, because you go in what they call the ice stream. So we were in the mountains in Poland, and we hiked up probably about half an hour up a trail, and we got undressed into, and this is snowing, there's snow on the ground, there's snowing. We got down into our swimming gear, and we all walked into the ice stream, which is probably around about 0.3, something like that, 0.3, 0.4, but it's moving water, so you don't develop a thermal layer because the molecules are keep brushed off. We were in there for probably 5 minutes, and then we came out and like barefoot on the snow doing the horse stance to warm up. So that's an easy one to answer, because that was definitely the coldest I've ever been in my life. Yeah. And I think most of the other guys will protest the same thing. The other one, what was the question? What was the other question?
The most memorable place.
It'd probably be the same place, to be honest, because when there was 50 of us.
Wow.
And we're all filing into this freezing cold thing. We made 2 rings. So an inner ring and an outer ring, and we're all in there, and everybody is in there. You can see everybody's like breathing. Then we came out and did the horse stance, and everybody's going hoo ha, and it's actually echoing off all the cliffs around you, and there's 50 of you. Just there's unbelievable power in numbers. And when we're in a team of all these people who believe the same thing, and well, it's not belief, actually, follow the same thing. We understand what this is doing for us, so everybody's committed to it. So That would, yeah, it's definitely the ice stream in Poland. I mean, there's been real cold elsewhere. Don't get me wrong, real cold, but the ice stream in Poland. I went to Russell Brand's community festival over the weekend,
Yeah.
and there's a company called Brass Monkey who make ice ice tubs basically, and they generate their own ice. So they generate on their ice, and it keeps the temperature around about 0.3. So that was as cold, but not when it's moving water. Whereas that was kind of just still with that. So that's great. But I actually met Wim Hof and that there. So I was first time I met the guy. So it's kind of like that was great fun. Yeah, it was a good day. But yeah, I would say the ice stream in Poland's the coldest and probably the most picturesque.
Nice.
Because there was snow on the ground everywhere, and it was a beautiful place.
Wow. So you mentioned about the reason what got you into cold therapy, and you've touched on what it sort of has given you over the journey.
Yeah.
When I reflect on my own journey, is I stepped in for one reason, but what ended up coming out of the other side is truly life-changing. Personally, I put cold therapy saved my life. My family were expecting a call saying Dean's been found dead, you know, through the drug and alcohol abuse, the long-term medication, the mental health problems from a life-changing injury, all these things. You know, I originally stepped in, which was about health, trying to become pain-free and medication-free. But what ended up transcribing on the other side was something totally different, where I found passion, found purpose in my life, like you said. But what I'm really interested to know, and if you could break it down in a way that people could understand, was, you know, that the injury side, but really what's come through, where you've noticed change in your everyday life. Like you've already mentioned up here, you've already mentioned the body, but you know, what transformations have happened in your own environment, and you've talked about your new girlfriend and home and that. So just understanding those shifts, those transformations would be great.
Okay. Well, when I moved down here to study massage, it was for the first time in a long time that I could turn the focus on solely on myself. I still had the problems with my mum and my daughter, but I was outside. I was when I lived in the old place I used to live. I had a lot of friends around me, and a lot of times I'd be pulled from one friend to another to try and help out. But when I came down here, it allowed me to focus on myself and ask myself, what do I need? Because so many people go through the life and they've got other people around them that demand their time. And like most people, they'll give time up to someone else before you give it to yourself. And being allowed to turn that focus on myself and actually exercise my self-care and my self-love, that's built up my resilience, that's built up my pride in myself. And I think that was the biggest shift. Being proud of myself is the biggest shift that I've had, because ever since I stopped playing football, I've been a failure. You know, that was it. I was going to be a footballer, then I got injured, and I've done like everything. I hated it all. I hated all the jobs. I hated them. I met some amazing people, but I hated them, and I hated myself because I was never happy. I always wanted more. I was always looking for something else, something to buy, or, you know, I wanted a better car, or to the point where I was like, okay, I'll just sing it in a band. So I was singing in a band and doing any job just so I could make it big and be in a band, and I wanted too much. Whereas now I've had the chance to look at myself in a different light, and my health and my mental health is more important than anything. I can't help anybody else. You can't drink from an empty cup. You just can't. It's not there for you. So the change in how I feel about myself has been the biggest transformation, because I've been able to spend time on myself. And I would say to anybody who's watching, look after yourself. Take some time out for you, just you. People say, oh, I'm too busy. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got, I've got, there's too many stuff that you can squeeze an hour a week and then turn that into 10 minutes a day. You can do that. Everybody can. You're just going to want to be kind enough to yourself to be able to do it. So turning the lens onto me rather than having it outward to everybody else. And I've changed my mindset from, because of that, I can't do this. Because of this, I can't do that. Because of that, and this is the reason, it's because of this. My mindset isn't that anymore, because I've turned it into myself. Now, in spite of me going through that, I've still done this. In spite of this happening to me, I'm still doing this. And it's that change in headspace and the pride in myself. Now, if I meet anybody now, I'm not sat there thinking, oh, what are they thinking of me? Because that's what a lot of us do. We have that first contact with someone you don't know and you're going, oh, I wonder what they think of me. I wonder what they think of me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't care what you think of me, because I know who I am. I know what I do. I know how I affect other people's lives. I know that I'm doing good in my life, and I'm really proud of that. So regardless of what someone thinks of me, that's not who I am. I'm proud of me now. And I think anybody who can reach that, there's tools to do it. The cold is one of the great tools to use, but there's plenty of tools out there to use. And believe me, reach out to people, because there's so many people who want to help you. There's people like me everywhere. There's people like yourself everywhere. We want to help people.
Yeah.
We want to make people better. We want to make people get rid of the anxiety, get rid of the pain, get rid of the torture in the head, because that's where most of us are. So reach out. I would say reach out to people. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed in myself, is the pride in who I am and what I do from day to day. And that allows me to be better every day. And even if I have a down day, I know I can fix it, which is great.
The shower.
Yeah, exactly right, mate.
It's quite a good segue into the next sort of question, really. You talked about like wanting to help people. You've learned from your own experience what it's taken you to overcome injury, overcome that life memory that sort of put you in an unhappy place. You had this one vision, was a pro footballer.
Yeah.
Unfortunate injury happened and set you on a totally different path. And it sort of, it led you down a number of different things. And when you start to become consciously aware of our experience, you start to become grateful of all these different little opportunities, really, because it's arrived you at the point where you are now.
Exactly, yeah.
And so this point comes right into, what is Ash's vision? What is Ash's next move? Where is Ash going? What's Ash doing with cold therapy? Is cold therapy a part of it? I know that you said you're a Wim Hof instructor. There's clearly big plans with cold therapy, taking your transformation and empowering people with that. So please tell us a little bit about Ash's vision.
Right. Okay. Business plans. I've during lockdown, we said we want to help people. That's kind of like where we are. So during lockdown, I started something called Stretch Club, which was I just did it on Zoom. I just sent invites out to anybody I knew. I advertised on Instagram, on Facebook, just saying, look, if you want to do some free stretching just to get yourself moving, Joe Wicks was on YouTube and doing this for millions of people. Mine's kind of a little smaller, kind of more community-led thing around here where I live. And that's still running now. I also started Breath Club because breath work was a big interest of me. I wasn't a Wim Hof instructor by then, but I knew a lot about breath work due to reading, research, that sort of thing. So I had Breath Club, then Stretch Club, then Breath Club. Like I've mentioned before, I do Dip Club now, which is the ice immersion, which is what we do every week. So going forward from here, I'm going to learn. Hello, mate. I'm going to be doing more. There's a dog. I'm going to be doing more workshops and building a business that way. But also, I'm going to be growing the other clubs. And I think I've always believed, ever since I started, was if I do it because I want to help people, everything else will follow. And I'm not going to change the way. I don't want to become like a big global superstar, and that's not in my world. That's not what I want to do. I want to make a difference for people who can't make the difference for themselves. The Stretch Club is generally, they're all like in their 60s and 70s who come to Stretch Club, but then now they can walk upstairs without being out of breath, and they don't have to get a bus, they can walk into town, that sort of thing. So making those little changes. I mean, I could train an athlete. I could train athletes if I want, but it's not really my world. I'm a people person. I want to help normal people. You know, if you're an athlete, you're going to get a great trainer. That's fine. It doesn't have to be me. But if you're a little old lady who can't get out of the house as much, and I can come into your house through the screen and make a difference to your life just because you're then into a little community with these people that we know, that's where I am. So I want to make a big, I'm going to go next level into Wim Hof anyway. I want to be level 2, I want to be level 3. I want to be able to gain more skills that way. And I think future means bigger workshops, and the future means bigger clubs. So I want to grow those clubs to make a difference to normal people. I mean, the people who come to my workshops, they're fairly expensive because they're Wim Hof workshops. It's just the way it is. But what you get, the value that you get for going to the workshops is huge. It's enormous. It's beyond anything you can think. But I want to keep giving to the people who can't, you know, afford that, and the people who are scared to go to the gym, the people who, you know, are really, the amount of people come to Breath Club, and we've been going 2 years now, and they come to Breath Club just because they know they can relax. And giving those things to people is more important to me than taking over the world, or, you know, having this massive company. It's not my world. I want to make a difference for normal people, and normal people can use a cold shower because everyone's got one. You know, normal people can do breath work because they have lungs. You know, it's that sort of thing where that's where my future is. I think me and my partner, because we support each other beyond measure. I believe in her more than she believes in me, and she believes in me more. I believe in myself. So I think the pair of us together, we will be fine. It's been a battle because my partner's she was on she's a sales and marketing director for a global building company, developer, and she turned her back on it all to become a dog trainer. Now she's a dog trainer. So she's got a whole different story as well. So we kind of like worked together, and we supported each other through everything, through the startup business, and it's just starting to churn now for the pair of us. So it's been a long journey, past like 5 years, but it's just being proud of myself is the number one thing, and I'm happy with who I am, and I can stand in front of anybody. I don't care who you are, and I'm proud of myself, you know. And then it's quite easy because being a Wim Hof instructor now, you kind of, you look past a lot of things. You look for the blessing in everything.
Yeah,
it's like we were driving to we're driving to the festival on Sunday, and we're in Wales, so mid Wales. I didn't know where we were. It was in Builth Wells, which is right in the central Wales. And we started down the road, and we're supposed to be 20 minutes away from the festival and a bit Airbnb. And it says turn left, so we turned left, and I carried on up, and we started to go up this hill. And it's turned into a track. It's like a track, like a dirt track. So I get up to the top of we're on top of this bloody mountain, and looking at the top of the mountain, looking at these views, they were a blessing. It took us nearly an hour to get there, which should have been a 20-minute, because the sat nav took us in the wrong way. And we ended up in this farmer's backyard, and he kind of like, how the bloody hell did you get here? He said, "You're not come over the mountain, have you?" We were like, "Sat nav sent us this way. We didn't know what to do." And he was like, "Oh, I built that road back in 1987. There's not a road there." So, but we found the blessing because we saw these beautiful views at the top of the mountain. Even though it made us late, we didn't care. So
Yeah.
I think going forward, just being who I am and being myself for everybody else is the big thing. So I'm not, yeah, if I make money on it, it'll come, but I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm doing it to help people, and that's where my life is. It's not about me earning zeros. It's about me helping people. The zeros will come if I do it right.
The zeros will definitely come, Ash, and as you evolve, so will your program, so will your value, so will your service evolve. And that is just the natural ebbs and flows that we work with.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the best. Now, the next, so we're leading up to the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Really, this question is about someone's contacted you, or somebody's on the fence, they've reached out to you and they're like, "Oh, you know, I see what you do. I'm really interested in this cold therapy thing. We touched a little bit on this," or somebody's tried it. The activation and the sympathetic nervous system is saying, "Oh no, you're not going back in there." And they're listening to that voice. What do you say to them to get them into the cold or back into the cold? And what do you say to keep them going back in day after day?
Okay. I think the simplest thing to say to someone in that circumstance is your body can deal with it. Because people, the only reason you don't want to go in there is your mind. And your mind, the only thing it's going to be is uncomfortable. That's it. It's not going to be anything worse than that. It's going to be uncomfortable. And your body is designed to look after it. Back in the dark ages, we had 5 threats. We had cold, warm, animals being poisoned, or hunger. We don't have any of them anymore. We don't. So we don't have this hormetic stress. We call it hormetic stress, where you go through a stress, then you get used to it. So then when it comes back again, you know you can deal with it. So use the cold as a hormetic stressor, because it's not going to damage you. You're not going to get hurt. All you have to do is go and deal with it and breathe. If you breathe, just take those long exhales, you'll get through it. Then all of a sudden you'll go, okay, well, I don't want to do that tomorrow. I did it today. Why don't you do it tomorrow? Because you're going to use it as a hormetic stressor. It will help you deal with your daily life. It will help you deal with that constant drip of cortisol that you get all the time, or every day. We only used to get a spike of adrenaline when we saw a saber-toothed tiger. And that used to happen maybe once a day. Now you get spikes of adrenaline 5, 6, 7 times before you've reached work.
Yeah.
So it's learning to deal with those stresses, because it's a transferable skill. Deal with the cold. It's reliable. It won't let you down. All you need to do is go in there and control your breath, and then do it day after day after day. And you'll find that you'll deal with your stress in your work, in your family, with your relationships a lot easier. Because that stress, when it comes on, you only feel that chemical reaction in your body. Now, the chemical reaction in your body only gets credence when you give it. I'm scared. I'm scared is the same as I'm excited. They're both exactly the same physical reactions in your body. It's only your mind that attaches to it what it actually is. But it isn't. It's just a sensation at the end of the day. So if you can go into the cold and think about, it's just a sensation, I can deal with this. Just breathe. So that would be my thing. Your body can deal with it, breathe through it, and then do it every day, because it will help your everyday life. It's helped mine beyond measure. I used to be a real stressed out person. I'm not anymore. I used to be a grumpy northerner. Everybody saw me as, "Hi, I'm Ash. How you doing?" Yeah. But in private life, I was grumpy. I was like, "God, why are they doing it to us? The bloody government." All the time. I'd be really upset about that whole thing. But now I've learned to let it go. I've frozen that stuff. Let it go. So yeah, that would be my advice. It's a physical thing. You can deal with it. Just breathe. Do it day after day, and it'll help your life.
Ash, I really like your response there. Not only that is you get some people which is like real motivational, whereas you brought a different dynamic of logic and reason, whereas is become like this is how I understood it and the way I took it, that it was like, look, be willing to go into that space.
Yeah,
it's just noise.
Yeah.
And that logic and that reason behind it was sort of actually quite soothing. So speaking to people and getting them to understand it, we all teach in our different way, we all learn in our own way, and that's what we need. Is it's being able to tap into people's environment, and being able to sort of mimic them and sort of understand that process, be an effective listener and communicator as a Wim Hof instructor, which you clearly are. I've picked that up from this conversation. And I just really like the way that you came across and you sort of said that, and it was a very calm and tranquil way, where and it caught me off guard really, because it's the first one that had a slightly different approach, but it was an approach that that had so much logic, that wasn't thinking about, wasn't about a pep talk or motivation, as much as like I'm there in that warrioress sort of masculine, feminine energy.
Yeah.
But it's also of that, because if people are dealing with trauma, they don't feel like they're in their masculine.
You don't have to be.
Well, exactly. And so I really like the way that you explain that, and thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with me. So, Ash, I want to say a massive thank you for your time, your knowledge, your experience. What we like to do at the end of the podcast is we like to hand over the floor to you. This is where you share your handles. We will put a description of where people can connect with you, but just in case it goes on to an audio podcast where there isn't the option to be able to give a full bio and description, please let people know where they can find you and anything that you want to share with people at the end of this. The floor is yours.
Sure. Okay. Well, probably the first stop, my Instagram is @breathisthe_bridge, because I believe that breath is the bridge.
Nice.
So I also believe that being kind is all that matters.
Nice.
So find me on Instagram is @breathisthe_bridge. If you want to reach out to me on email, it's breathisthe_bridge@gmail.com. You can also find my website, which is a really weird, I'm going to change the name, but it's www.my-synapse, which is synapse.com. On there you can find details about Stretch Club, Breath Club. You can find out where, if you're in my area, if you want to come to my Pilates lessons, and also you can sign up to any Wim Hof fundamentals workshops that I have. On Facebook is, again, Breath is the Bridge, because that's kind of like my handle really. Apart from that, if I bump into you, or if you can find me on that, if you want to know anything, please reach out. I'm more than happy. I'm helping 2 or 3 people at the moment who have been struggling. So, but through friends, they said, "Would you talk to this person? Would you talk to this person?" And yeah, I will. I mean, I'm not going to charge you any money, but I'll definitely help you if I can.
Nice. Ash, thank you so much. It's literally been great to have you here. Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. Have a good day. Take care, Dean.